Okay, so people asked if I would start posting more of my old remote viewing from my bed. This is my green screen. Uh, I want to say something, and I want people to really take a moment amidst all the noise and chaos that is on YouTube and social media, the news, etc., and come to understand that America is at war. That America is at war with China and Russia. And this war is being fought by trying to get Americans to tear each other apart and ripping apart the fabric of the country by creating this hyperbolic environment where we're attacking each other in insane ways and accusing each other of really some crazy things. I mean, I'm not a fan of Charlie Kirk, but no one should see their husband die that way. And the fact that we've become so hyperbolic that we have no empathy for anybody. Oh, she doesn't really suffer. Come on, people, just because you can't stand someone's politics. I mean, that's what I mean. We have to get back to center, and when we lose sight of our own empathy and we start having no empathy for somebody who's a widow with 3 kids, that is the political climate has created that lack of empathy towards the perceived of as opponent. And still say, I find your politics appalling. And specifically, I want to call out these statements that were made. At the same time, I'm very sorry for your loss. I mean, this is what sane people do. And so the spiritual message here is this. You're not imagining that it feels like America's being torn apart by some invisible force. It's not an invisible force that's tearing America apart. It's being torn apart intentionally. There are certain forces that are intentionally trying to tear America apart. Russia is tearing America apart without firing one shot, with bots and with extreme leftist rhetoric and right-wing MAGA rhetoric. And the goal is to create both arguments so that we begin to attack each other. And then we latch on whichever side we agree with. And the goal here is not necessarily to be attached to one or the other, but the goal is to get us to fight. And so the goal is to get us to fight. So be aware of that. We have got to disengage from that and get back to the basic parts of what make us a good neighbors and good citizens. And it starts on cleaning up our local levels, cleaning up the graffiti, cleaning up the junk in our own neighborhoods, and not getting pulled. If we don't begin to do that, we're not going to make it as a country. We have to begin to move towards unity and oasis everywhere. I talk about this a lot, this idea of internal oasis. If someone is abusive or violent, obviously they go into exile. This is a primitive concept in anthropology. You got to send them into exile. You can't stay, you got to go, right? But most of us are not in that category. Most of us can learn to tolerate each other's differences of opinions. And that's what I mean by a oasis, by creating zones where we agree to tolerate each other and we agree on the basics, right? So polite discourse, and creating a nation that supports its citizens, right? And no kings. I think certain basic, support the Constitution. Those are, but the point is that we have to move towards unity because we have to objectively understand that we are under attack at this time. And just being aware and saying to everybody, we're under attack right now. If you're having a fight with someone at Thanksgiving, you need to remind everybody at the table, we're under attack right now. And the other attack is the opium wars. For those people who don't know, we're in the middle of an opium war and a trade war with China. A lot of anger and bad will between China and the rest of the world. A lot of people died because of COVID. A lot of industry tanked. And so there were a lot of lawsuits, as we had predicted. There would be a lot of lawsuits against China, and that really harmed China. But the one thing that China is doing is making the precursors for fentanyl in its labs, and then those precursors are being sent to places like Mexico, Canada, Central America. And it's intentionally being done, in part, theoretically, to weaken the United States. So if we're a nation that's high on fentanyl and our young people cannot serve, they can't serve in the military, our GDP will begin to crash, right? So you could argue that the cheap fentanyl on the streets is in and of itself a war against America being engineered intentionally by China to get everybody stoned on this strong opioid that could take us out. So be mindful of that. When you see the drug addict, that's part of this, we're at war. When you see the person on the street dying from fentanyl who looks like they're a zombie, that's because we're at war. When you see us fighting amongst each other and you start getting hyperbolic over a post and not knowing if it originated from a bot from somewhere, in Russia, that's because we're at war. And the function of the war is civil unrest and ultimately to collapse the United States. So bringing back polite discourse, bringing back the salon, bringing back the ability to agree and disagree with people who, I'm talking about functional, who believe in democracy. I'm not talking about wingnuts, okay? And we can all agree that the mentally ill, some of these groups seem to be engineered by the mentally ill and by psychopaths. But we're talking about, for most people are not this crazy, right? We'd like to think so. So moving towards the center and reminding ourselves we are at war. We are at war right now. This is a war, and we have to come together all over the world and unify against these external destructive forces, but specifically here in the United States. And I think Britain is under attack in some of the same ways. You can see it happening in Britain and other parts of Europe. This feeling that there are forces like Russia trying to create this horrible noise that's causing so much tension in the world right now. All right, thank you all for watching. If you're trying to get in for an appointment with me, you can find all the information below. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Bye.